A Different World is one of the greatest sitcoms to ever grace our screens during the late 80s and the early 90s. Running from 1987 to 1993, this show started off as a spin-off of The Cosby Show, but definitely found its own identity by exploring the lives of students living in an HBCU, historically black college university. Originally, this show was supposed to have centered around Denise Huxtable, played by Lisa Bonet. However, the show pretty much took an identity of its own by exploring the central couple between Dwayne and Whitney, played by Kadeem Hardison and Jasmine Guy. Now, I've done a sitcom retrospective on this. I think this is like one of the first sitcom retrospective, and I said to myself, I never actually went deep into like my favorite episode. So I'm gonna do something a little different. Since the show ran for 6 seasons, I'm gonna pick my favorite episodes from the season. Now, granted, some seasons might have more than one favorite episode. I'm just letting you guys know right now. The way how this is gonna work is the fact that I'm gonna start off by saying my favorite episode of the season as the first one, and I'll just rank it the other episodes after that one. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, let's start with season 1 of A Different World. Now, season 1 is no surprise my least favorite season. It's kind of surprising though, but this was around the time when the show was like going through a lot of issues. You know what I'm saying? It was a commercial success. Don't get me wrong, it was definitely a commercial success. However, at the same time, many fans have said that this was not really a great representation of the HBCU. While there were pretty good episodes this season, it was a lot of fluff this season. They were still trying to figure out what to do. One episode from season 1 that I particularly like, and this is a very surprising choice, it's Rudy and the Snow Queen. So, pretty much, just gonna be real, at least almost every Cosby Show member except Sandra and Elvin appeared on the show, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. But this might be the best of the Cosby crossovers. So the whole synopsis is Rudy coming to visit Denise for the weekend and everything like that, you know what I'm saying? And she's pretty much, getting used to everybody like Jaleesa and Dwayne and so on and so on. But she took an immediate liking to Whitley. And so this is still at a time when Whitley was still pretty much like in her snobbish kind of role. It's more on that later. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, the beauty of this episode was the bond between Whitney and Rudy. You know what I'm saying? I definitely felt like they just have nice chemistry, and it was definitely a good softening up of Whitney's character. You know what I'm saying? So I love the scene when they had that talk. You know what I'm saying? They had that talk near the end and everything like that. I also even love the scene when they were dancing to Master of Ceremonies' "Sexy." You know what I'm saying? Master of Ceremony was Grand Puba's first group before Brand Nubian. Just letting you guys know that right now. You know what I'm saying? So, what I liked about this episode was the fact that they utilized the Cosby syndrome, but at the same time, they were finding very good strengths for years to come. For that strength, I mean Whitley's character, which more on that later. So season 2 was the first season that had the wonderful Debbie Allen as a producer and director. And the show definitely went through a whole rejuvenation. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Lisa Bonet was taken out the show because, of course, she got pregnant by Lenny Kravitz and everything like that. So now the show was more of an ensemble with, of course, Dwayne and Whitley being the anchors. And no other episode this season had much impact than the classic episode No Means No. Now, this is definitely a very important episode of A Different World. Not only because of the fact it touched on a sensitive topic, but I definitely felt like this was the episode that transitioned A Different World from a bland Cosby Show spinoff into a contemporary voice for the rising of Black America at the time. So this episode pretty much featured Freddie, played by Cree Summer, and going on a date with one of Dwayne's teammates from the baseball team and everything like that. But see, this guy, he actually has like a very, very, very bad reputation. And Dwayne felt like he was going to take advantage of Freddie. So he was trying to do everything he told Freddie, like, watch out for him and everything like that. But of course, Freddie was just like, oh, you're jealous, you don't know what you're talking about, and so on and so on. However, it was that scene where he did try to do something for Freddie, but Dwayne was there and saved the day, pretty much, you know what I'm saying? This episode was written by Margie Peters, definitely one of the show's best writers, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying? I definitely felt like it touched on a very sensitive topic of date rape, because at the time, date rape was really a very, very, very heavy issue at that time too. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely felt like this episode really, really, really is a top 5 contender. You know what I'm saying? And also the fact, I definitely felt like Cree Summer and Kadeem Hardison definitely did their thing with this one. However, my favorite scene of the episode has got to be when Dwayne and Walter were talking, and Dwayne was trying to ask Walter, without actually asking Walter what date rape is, what happens if a girl says no, and everything like that too. Definitely Walter, played by Sinbad, is one of the strongest presses of the show. You know what I'm saying? Definitely, in my opinion, the funniest. And his presence was sorely missed. Stay tuned on that. So now we go into season 3, and I'm gonna be real with you. These seasons onward, you're gonna have probably more than one favorite episode. Because it was kind of hard for me to really pick a favorite episode for these, but I managed to pick some noteworthy episodes. So I must definitely start season 3 with one of my favorite episodes called Strangers on a Plane. This was the first episode of season 3, and again, I felt like this was the episode where the first step of Dwayne and Whitley's growing romance and everything like that too. You know what I'm saying? Whitley saw Dwayne boarding the same plane, and Dwayne done stepped his game up. He got rid of the flip-up glasses. You know what I'm saying? He just was more like clean cut. A little fun fact: the flip-up glasses from Dwayne was banished by this time because Bill Cosby felt like Kadeem Hardison not Kadeem Hardison, but Dwayne should grow up. So yeah, so this was a very, very, very dope episode. You have Whitley kind of feeling for Dwayne and everything like that. I mostly love this episode more for that plane ride scene. It just felt like two people talking, and just at the same time, no gimmicks, no necessary. It was just them feeling the vibe with one another. Definitely a very, 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 very essential episode when it comes to a different world. Love it. And also, too, this is also written by Thad Mumford. Now, you're going to see his name a lot. You're going to see his name a lot when it comes to some of these episodes and everything like that, especially when it comes to season 3. And speaking of Thad Mumford, I have another favorite episode from season 3, Here's to Old Friends. So, this is a very underrated episode that I never hear a lot of people mention, but here's my thing. So, Dwayne has an old friend that came by. I think he's from like a PWI, and he came by and he pretty much, don't really fuck with Ron. Let's keep it a buck with you. You don't really fuck with Ron. He felt like Ron was like a bad influence when it comes to Dwayne, and Ron just felt like, homeboy's kind of bougie and everything like that too. And again, this is another important step for the maturity of Dwayne, because he felt like, he don't want to. And sometimes, when he comes to that certain point in your life, that you have loyalty to like your homeboys, and you'll have loyalty to your own lifestyle, but things change. Life changes and everything like that. And Dwayne is seeing the man he's becoming when he's at Hillman and everything, because he's not just trying to ditch Rom. It's just like Hillman just basically reformed and shaped him up. I also definitely love the subplot too, where fucking Colonel Taylor and Mr. Gaines, played by Glenn Turman and the late great Lou Myers. They went to an old Army reunion party, and of course hijinks ensue. I definitely loved it when Mr. Gaines was trying to get away from one of the guys that was talking too much. Lou Myers, man, definitely a funny person. I know some fans that kind of find Mr. Gaines a little annoying. I never really found Mr. Gaines annoying, because I've known people like that, you know what I'm saying? So definitely two of my favorite episodes from season 3. Season 3 again was a very, very, very great season. Now, my all-time favorite season of the show, season 4. Man. This is another season where I had to pick 2 favorite episodes. And I'm going to start this off with my favorite, and probably, well, I don't want to say this was my favorite. I say this is like one of the funniest episodes of the whole series. Good Help is Hard to Fire. Man, this is one of the most classic episodes of A Different World you'll ever see. You know what I'm saying? So, this was around the time when Dwayne was dating Keanu by Elisa Geese Dickens. You know what I'm saying? And Whitley definitely took a dislike for Keanu. It's always funny how she's always messing up her name and everything like that. Kimushu, Kiki, whatever. It's hilarious. And with this episode, you know, Dwayne and Keanu had a party and Whitley kind of felt left out because around this time of the season, her father cut off her credit cards and everything, so she was definitely trying to support herself. So Ron, who also took a dislike for Keanu, pretty much wanted to invite Whitley to be the maid so she could just drive Keanu away from the apartment. Also, too, he had Dwayne's mom, played by the great Patti LaBelle. You know what I'm saying? Wanted to come over so she could meet Keanu and everything like that, too. Patti LaBelle, she definitely added a spark. Her and Diane Carroll, who Diane Carroll played Whitley's mom, definitely had a very, very, very dope chemistry with one another and everything like that. But I definitely love this episode because of the fact that it has so many layers with it. You know what I'm saying? Dwayne feeling like something is missing from his life, especially when that scene in the beginning when he had that little dream and everything like that too. And then of course, you know, Keanu feeling like she always had to play second banana to Whitley and Dwayne's and stuff like that too. And then you also had Whitley herself, you know, trying to like learn how to be more independent and more grounded. Like I felt like around this time of the series, she character was becoming more grounded and less of a snob a little bit before her character got broadenized a bit too, you know what I'm saying? But I definitely love the scene when Whitley and Keanu were fighting and they dropped the prune cake. I think it was like prune cake or prune cobbler. And of course, you know, Patti LaBelle, who played Dwayne's mom, of course, she definitely went in and just talking about how she's mad now and everything like that. So this was definitely a very, very, very funny episode. And I highly recommend anybody watching this episode. Now, season 4 also brought us another iconic episode, which was written by Miss Jasmine Guy and Mr. Dominic Hoffman, who Dominic Hoffman played Julian on the show. You know what I'm saying? Little fun fact. Hoffman and Guy actually dated for a bit too. So, War and Peace. Man, this is actually my one of my favorite episodes. You know what I'm saying? Another one. So, Blair Underwood guest stars as another friend of Dwayne, who's actually got recruited to serve in the Persian Gulf War. And at the same time, too, this was a very heavy topic. And this was a very original concept for the show because of the fact that it dealt with African Americans being recruited to war. And Dwayne also, you know, he just wondered why his friend was just not taking shit seriously. He's like, how is he feeling? He started asking him how he's feeling. And his friend was just brushing it off, talking about it's nothing, you know, he's just doing it because he owes a debt to his country. Now, when I first watched this episode, I noticed that Colonel Taylor didn't really appear until like the second half, like towards the second half of the episode. And I was thinking to myself, like, when I first watched this episode, I was like, this episode would have definitely failed if he did not have presence in this episode. And long and behold, Glenn Turman definitely put out probably his best performance on the show. When he was talking to Dwayne's friend, he was pretty much just saying stuff like how he used to like have his method, how he just used to like get over war and stuff like that. And Dwayne's friend was just like, how is that supposed to help me? And then he just pretty much just goes into a rampage talking about it's not supposed to help you, it's supposed to help me and everything like that too. Which it definitely shows like Colonel Taylor kind of still have like some post-traumatic stress or anything like that. and it was just his way of a coping mechanism. I definitely love that scene between Terman and Underwood. I felt like it was a very, very, very powerful scene. This was another episode that was very ahead of its time, and I often consider this one of the more hard-hitting episodes of the show. Definitely a very, very, very great episode, underrated. Now, season 5, oh my god. I had to up this one to 3 episodes because rewatching the show, I forgot how many strong episodes season 5 had. Like, there was like a lot of home runs that season. And, of course, this was the same season that the Cosby Show ended and everything like that, too. So, let's get the record straight. The best episode of season 5 and possibly the best episode of the show, save the best for last. The season finale of season 5. Yes, the Baby Please, the wedding episode, whatever you can call it. So, in this season, Dwayne and Whitley's relationship pretty much hit a snag, and they pretty much broke up their engagement like towards the middle of the season. And Whitley starts dating, this candidate, was running for state senator or whatever, Byron, Don Lewis, and everything like that. I kind of preferred her chemistry more with Walter, but at the same time too, Sinbad had already left the show. It's at the end of season 4. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, and it's kind of crazy too because it was just like by the next season she was pretty much like an unseen character, but that's another story for a different day. So yeah, so the first part, of course, ends with like Dwayne and Whitley talking and everything like that, and the second part is where the tour de force comes. Of course, now you have Diane Carroll coming, just having the fact that Dwayne is out of her life. And then you also had Ron O'Neal, Superfly, who played Whitney's father, and everything like that too, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just going to go off topic. I love the fact that they picked a lot of legendary black actors and actresses to come for his recurring roles, like Diane Carroll, Ron O'Neal, of course, Mary LaBelle, and everything like that too. I definitely love the fact that they did that. It just always struck me with that. But besides the point, so we all remember this episode with the classic scene where Dwayne broke up the wedding between Whitley and Byron. So a little trivia about this episode. Jasmine Guy and Kadeem Hardison did not like that. They felt that, they definitely felt that, of course, it did not seem right for Dwayne's character to break up like a wedding and everything like that when it comes to Whitley and Byron. So yeah, there was like a lot of issues regarding that. But at the same time too, I definitely felt like every time I watched this episode, no matter how many times I've seen this episode, it always struck me how I wondered if he would have never made it to that altar and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? Another also trivia about this episode, when Dwayne was trying to tell Whitley how much he loved her and recited their wedding and then would you marry me and everything, when he said baby please, he ad-libbed that line. Kadeem Hardison ad-libbed that line. And Whitley pretty much, they just took off, you know what I'm saying? They got married. I love the scene when she ran on the aisle and she embraced Dwayne and everything like that. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it sucks for Byron and everything, but come on now. I mean, if you watch the show, you guys would definitely know that this was the ending for the characters that they love. I love that all the friends pretty much just got together and everything like that too, Diane Carroll pretty much had me laughing and everything like that. Just her trying to force Whitley to say I do, telling Dwayne just die. I mean, come on now, you can't go wrong with that. One of the more iconic episodes of the show. Also too, just letting you guys know a little more trivia. Both parts was written by Yvette Denise Lee. Yes, the same Yvette Denise Lee that created like Living Single, Half and Half, you know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned before, in the Living Single sitcom Retrospective, that she got her start as a producer for A Different World. And when she was working on Living Single, you notice a lot of different world alums like Hardison and Guy, appearing on the show. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, definitely love that episode. So yeah, so that's actually my favorite episode of season 5. But a close favorite, Cats in the Cradle. Oh my god. This is another heavy episode. Season 5 was just probably the darkest season of the show. Let's keep it real with you, man. I mean, this was written by, of course, Gary H. Miller. So with this episode, it starts off with Ron in jail with this white guy, and then fast flashback. You had everyone trying to get ready for like their football game and everything like that too. And Ron was gambling with the rival team to see who was going to win the football game. However, when Hillman won, tensions broke when Ron said something like, "You should have had more brothers on the team." Just a little silly play and everything like that. And then the white rival football team wanted to spray paint the N-word on his car. And of course, a fight happened between Ron, the football guys, and Dwayne jumped in, and it was just like all hell broke loose. So the next scene, they were all in the prison, well, not prison, the jail, and everything like that too, and they were trying to recount what happened. So one thing I love about this episode was the fact that, one, the different like variations of what actually happened and everything like that too. I definitely love that shit, and definitely love the fact that the different stereotypes that was happening. And also too, I love the fact that Kadeem Hardison as Dwayne put out one of his best performances when he wanted to attack one of the rival football members after they insulted Whitley. And Kadeem Hardison pretty much dropped a speech about how, he had to fight for everything he had as a black man in America, even though it might be easier for the white person and everything like that too. So this one right here was a very great episode, and I feel like if anyone wants to watch one episode of the show, it might have been this one. You had Dean Cain, Ernie Sabella, and Wayne Fetterman. Well, Wayne Fetterman actually played the wolf, guest starring in this episode. So this one right here, A+. Now the last episode of season 5 I want to talk about, and God knows there were so many that I definitely wanted to highlight, is probably the most controversial episode of the show, Mammy Dearest. So written by Glenn Berenbean, this one was released after Dwayne and Whitley broke up, and Whitley wanted to have himself an art exhibit and everything like that, just to highlight several of black art. And one of the black art was the statue of like a Mammy caricature. Now, you guys should know the whole issue with the whole Mammy stereotype, especially when it came to like slavery and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? And of course, Kim, played by Chanel Brown, she definitely took this to heart and got really upset because of the fact that she felt like Whitley was trying to use her ancestral history just to get over her breakup with Dwayne and everything like that too. You know what I'm saying? And then of course, they definitely did the exhibit, and Chanel Brown put out one of her best performances. Actually, scratched her best performance, reciting the poem by Nikki Giovanni called Ego Tripping. Now, out of all the episodes, this one was probably among the most controversial of the series because of the fact that the whole Mammy stereotype was definitely still fresh on people's heads. And when they were actually working, the cast and crew were working on this, that whole week was just very tense because the subject matter. For one, Cree Summer felt very uncomfortable wearing blackface in that scene. And that actually angered Chanel Brown because she felt like that was an insult to her dark complexion. And then Lou Myers, who played Mr. Gaines, felt that the episode should be scrapped. I mean, everybody was just angry that episode. You can kind of see Chanel Brown, in some episodes, definitely holding back tears and everything like that too. You know what I'm saying? I definitely feel like this episode is not one of those that's easy to watch and everything, but at the same time too, it's the kind of episode that Different World was doing at this time too. So I definitely love this episode. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's definitely one of the more heavy-hitting episodes next to War and Peace. So finally, let's get to the 6th season. Now, again, I could have easily picked about more than 3 episodes for this season. I definitely feel like the 6th season, which the 6th season is actually the last season of the show, was a very underrated season. And I felt like it's underrated because a lot of people like to shit on this season because of the fact that you had a lot more episodes catered towards like the younger cast. You know, like Jada Pinkett's Lena. You know, you have Bumper Robinson as Dorian, Cameron Melina White, who plays Charmaine in the Cosby Show, who was like Pam's friend. She actually crossed over to a different world after the Cosby Show ended. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing I like about this season, and I'm just going to say this once and for all. As long as the older cast members have a presence, then I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Because we'll get into that with certain episodes. But my all-time favorite episode of this season, this is going to be a very surprising choice. Season 6 is episode 8, Baby It's Cold Outside. And I know a lot of people might be looking at me like, really? Why is this one? Well, here's the thing. This is an episode I do feel like at this time, the Whitley character was pretty much modernized a bit more and a bit more looser compared to like her stuffy, snooty origins and everything like that. So I felt like the last season of the show, her character was, Jasmine Guy was given more opportunity to like really be more Celia Whitley. And I feel like with this episode, you know what I'm saying, I feel like it kind of utilizes Celia Whitley much better than some of the other episodes from season 6. So Whitley was kind of upset that Dwayne has not been spending a lot of time with her and everything like that. So she calls Montel Williams, and of course, you know, you had Whitley just complaining. I love the scene when they were all watching Montel, they recognized Whitley's voice and everything like that, you know what I'm saying? Again, we're dealing with kind of like a modernized form of Whitley's character, but at the same time, her goals was actually manifested within her character, if that makes sense too. But to me, the final scene of this episode, where Dwayne and Whitley was actually trying to spend some time with one another, and they were pretty much, you know, just enjoying. They played the Ray Charles song he did with Betty Carter, "Baby It's Cold Outside," has the title of this episode. And I loved how they were playing around when that song was playing and everything like that, you know what I'm saying? I felt like that pretty much sealed the deal for that episode for me. And it's a very, very, very beautifully written scene. And you know what's crazy about this episode is the fact that Jasmine Guy actually wrote this episode. You know what I'm saying? And what's also more crazy was Glenn Turman directed this episode too. Definitely a very, 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 very dope episode. My favorite from season 6, hands down. Now, let's talk about Somebody Say Ho. This is another great episode in my personal opinion that definitely showed a different world going to more of its topical roots. So Terrell, played by Patrick Malone, was accused of calling Charmaine a hoe after a note on her back was called Digit Ho. Note on her back was called Digit Ho was taped and everybody was laughing at her class. So Terrell has to actually be in court, like student court, you know, being represented by Freddie, and of course, you know, Charmaine being represented by Dorian, played by Bumper Robinson. Now, this might be the best episode of season 6 that combined an old cast and a new cast and everything like that. You know, you definitely had a lot of the old cast in the presence, and I love episodes like that. You know, Dwayne being the teacher, Freddie representing Terrell, of course Whitley chiming in and everything like that. So it definitely felt like an ensemble piece. You know what I'm saying? And I also felt like when it came to this episode, it definitely highlighted a different real great a voice for the Black America, the contemporary Black American audience at this time too. So, how can I forget Jennifer Lewis, the great Jennifer Lewis playing the Dean in this season, definitely added a lot of charm to her role. But in my personal opinion, the true MVP of this episode was Cree Summer, who by this time in season 6 was working hard to become a lawyer and everything like that too. Probably went through the most change out of all the characters on the show. And the last episode I want to talk about, this might be another surprising choice. It's actually going to be Homie Don't You Know Me. So this was an episode that aired after the initial series finale, because at this time the show in this last season was not treated well by NBC. Let's just keep it real. For one, they wanted to, after the Cosby Show ended, I feel like NBC just threw the show in the wolves, and they wanted to put the show on 8 o'clock on Thursday. But at the same time, Martin was the show on Fox that was pretty much killing it on the ratings and everything like that too. And this really hurt Jasmine Guy. Watch my sitcom retrospective on Different World for more information about that. So a lot of the episodes either got put on the back burner and aired after the series finale and everything like that too. And they kept shuffling the show in different time slots and everything like that too. So certain episodes was aired during syndication. And one of the episodes that aired was Homie Don't You Know Me, which this is ironically known as a Tupac episode. Yes, Tupac guest starred on A Different World. He played ex-boyfriend of Lena, played by Jada Pinkett. Oh Lord. And it pretty much, just like we mentioned with the season 3 episode with Dwayne and when his friend was coming, it pretty much just an episode where Lena was recognizing the woman that she's becoming when she came to Hillman. And you know, her old friends come along and they just pretty much just causing all trouble, being ratchet and all that shit. Yeah, they were just being all ratchet and everything like that. Now I do admit, compared to somebody say Home, you barely got like a lot of the older cast members here and everything. Ironically, this episode was actually written by Kadeem Hardison. You know, Dwayne, he actually wrote this episode and everything too. So, actually, scratch that. He actually wrote and directed this episode. Damn, a lot of the cast members definitely had talent with writing and directing. But yeah, man, definitely a very, very, very great episode. For all of my Tupac fans, if you love his acting, this is definitely a favorite that you guys should definitely check out. You know what I'm saying? Regarding of what y'all feel about Jada Pinkett now, I get it, but hey, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Jada Pinkett definitely did a thing on this episode as well. So that's pretty much all of my favorite episodes of A Different World. I do have like a lot of honorable mentions. Probably I'm just gonna say about maybe 3 honorable mentions I feel like could have been also easily on this list. Going back to season 5, I loved Baby I'm a Star. Again, you definitely had Chanel Brown probably giving her best performance next to Mamie Dearest. Well, this time, you know, she definitely driving most of the comedy. And I've always felt like she was more of like a straight man compared to like Jasmine Guy and even like Cree Summer and everything like that too. But she let success go to her head after she was hired by Ron to be like a new singer for his band, because you know Ron was about to get fired because they weren't putting in the numbers at the club and everything. Very, very, very great episode, especially if you're a fan of Chanel Brown's performance as Kim. You know what I'm saying? I definitely feel like this episode really, really, really took a generic sitcom plot, but put some of that pizzazz on it. The most of the comedy for me comes from Colonel Taylor's midlife crisis. You know, him trying to be young, buying a motorcycle and everything like that. Yeah, man, it was a very, very kind of, it was somewhat silly, somewhat silly, somewhat funny, but at the same time, I appreciated it. I was entertained either way. I also have an honorable mention from season 2. You know what I'm saying? Radio Free Hillman. Now, this is another very great episode that shows Different World going to its topical roots and everything like that and getting out as the Cosby Show shadow. Dwayne actually gets in hot fire after he plays a rap album that's been like explicit content and kind of very, very, very vulgar. And you know, he has like this like sit-in for freedom of speech and everything, and everybody's rallying around Dwayne and everything like that too. But at the same time too, they come to find out that it wasn't just them that was getting punted. A lot of people and a lot of radio stations was mad because they were actually playing the rap album and everything like that, and it got banned in a lot of cities and everything. So this is definitely one of those episodes. It kind of is a very complex episode talking about, yeah, we should fight for freedom of speech, but at the end of the day too, there's a time and place for everything, But of course, Dwayne learns his lesson and everything like that too. So very, very, very great episode. And my last honorable mention, I'm not gonna go back to season 5. I've talked about season 5 so many times. I'm gonna take it to season 4, and probably again on another more somber episode. You know what I'm saying? If I should die before I wake, which a lot of people know it as the HIV episode. So you have a young Tisha Campbell playing like an HIV patient and everything like that. And this is also around the time when Dwayne Whitley were contemplating on having sex for the first time and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? Very, very, very powerful episodes. I didn't really want to put too much like very special and topical episodes on a different world. Just a different world list, you know what I'm saying? I want to highlight more of the funnier episodes. But if I was to pick another favorite, I would definitely have thrown this one in there. You know what I'm saying? A little trivia about this episode. So NBC was very fickle about putting this episode on the show and everything like that too. They're fickle about airing this episode. So they actually had to pull some strings. For one, Bill Cosby, he actually came on the set and he actually told he told NBC that this episode has to be aired because it's very important, of course, for the black community. Because at that time, AIDS and HIV was like really playing a huge factor when it came to like a lot of African Americans and everything like that. And two, you also had Whoopi Goldberg guest starring as a teacher and a professor and everything like that too. You know what I'm saying? And this is when Whoopi was definitely, breaking out more. I think at that time too, she was on that movie Ghost at that time. So yeah, man, definitely a very, 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 very great episode. Tisha Campbell really did a thing right there. It's kind of rare you ever see like her doing dramatic roles, but yeah, she definitely did it right. All in all, I definitely feel like A Different World is probably one of my all-time top 10 favorite sitcoms of all time. You know what I'm saying? Like, with all due respect to The Cosby Show, I love The Cosby Show, but I definitely watch episodes of Different World more than The Cosby Show. You know what I'm saying? The sitcom retrospective of The Cosby Show is long overdue, by the way, too. So that's what I'm saying. So this was very fun making this list. Expect some more sitcom retrospective revisited and everything like that. And as always, y'all stay blessed. Peace.